everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 147. Today I'm going to talk about Kosmonauts. It's a game from Mesa Board Games, relatively new-ish company. They had a few other games before this one. This game plays 2 to 4 players, about 60 minutes, and that seems to be about right. The idea is that each player is a starship or a rocket that they're trying to basically travel to all of the planets in the solar system. There's no Pluto in this one. But there is Halley's Comet, and that is one of the planets that you can visit, quote-unquote planets. And so what you're trying to do is basically race to these different planets, visit as many of them as you can, and then try to get back to Earth and then land there, and then you score points for visiting all the variety of planets. And you get more points if you get there first. The players are going to have sort of hidden goal cards. If you play Ticket to Ride, think sort of like, the ticket cards where you have sort of a hidden ticket, a route that you're trying to accomplish. And you'll have different cards like that to get to certain planets first, or even get to certain planets maybe all by yourself or second. So let's take a look at it. One other thing is I just had a little bit of interest in this game because a couple folks in my group, they played High Frontiers, which is a super complex, high simulation game about sort of colonizing the solar system or exploring, outer reaches of the solar system. This is a much simpler game, a much more family-oriented game. So let's take a look at how it works, and I'll come back and tell you more about what I think. Okay, you can see I've got the board set up here for 4 players, basically. So first thing you're going to do is take turns setting out these planets on the orbit. And you basically can put them on any of the spots along the orbit that have the icon matching the planet, like so. You just take turns putting those out. It's the first thing you do. Next, you're going to take, each player's going to take a colored ship, go ahead and put it on wherever the Earth is. Everybody starts on Earth. We'll just stack them like that for now. Then you're going to randomly determine a start player. They're going to get this little token here, and this is going to move around turn by turn, so the start player will keep moving to the left. And then off to the side of the board, we're going to make a stack for each of these planets here, these little scoring tokens. So the first person to get to Neptune here is going to get 4 points. The next person is going to get 3, 2, and then 1. So there'll be a stack like that for each of the planets, including Halley's Comet here. You can see Halley's Comet is going around in an orbit like so. And then there'll be a stack for Earth, and these are all 2 points. So basically, you're going to play the game until one person has visited all of the planets except for 1. Okay? And Halley's Comet, again, counts as a planet. And you exclude Earth in that equation. So basically, if I had visited every planet, including Halley's Comet, except Neptune, then I would try to get back to Earth. As soon as somebody has visited all planets but 1, and then gets back to Earth, then that's going to be the last round of the game. And then you're going to total up all of the point chips that people have here, as well as some hidden mission cards. So let's talk about those. So you basically have 3 stacks of mission cards, and these just represent a planet here. And so everybody's going to get 1 from the 1 stack, 1 from the 2A stack, and 1 from the 2B stack. So the object is you're the first person to get to the planet. Let's say you had this one here for Halley's Comet here. Then you would get 2 plus 2 points at the end of the game if you were the first one. Now you know that because you would have the number 4 token on your player board. Now these, the 2A and the 2B, these are represented by the other 8 planets, or the same 8 planets. And if you are the second person or the only person to get to this planet here, so in this case if you were the second person to get to Halley's Comet or the only person, you get 4 points. And so you get 1 of each of these. Now you can never have goals for the same destination, so you can't have like the Jupiter destination for first place and then also get the Jupiter destination for second place. So you shuffle those up, you deal them out, make sure nobody has a duplicate, and then you start your game. So each player has a player board like so that represents the fuel here, as well as some energy shield tokens like so. Then they each have a little spot here to put, where they visited. So if I was the second person to get to Jupiter, I'd put that little 3-point token there to show that I visited it. And then each player also has a token here. So if you are on Earth here, then once you leave Earth, you'll put a token on here to show that was the last planet that you visited. So that if you get into a hazardous situation, or maybe fly into the sun or something, then you're automatically going to go back to the last planet you visited. So you use that as a reminder to say, okay, this is where I left, and so anything bad happens to me, then I'll, shoot a recovery capsule and then land back on that planet. You've also got 3 of these energy shield tokens here. And these are going to be used to sort of pay for things, get you out of trouble. You've only got 3 of these. You won't be able to necessarily refuel these cubes here. Normally when you refuel on a planet, you can fill up these tokens here. There are some special cards you can get that you'll get more of these, but these are very limited and you got to use them carefully. And just for reference, the yellow cubes here are basically worth 1 fuel, or sort of 1 energy that you're going to spend traveling in a direction on these hexes, and these red ones are worth 2. Now the first thing that's going to happen every turn is whoever the start player is going to have to choose one of these 3 event cards. They're going to choose one, you're going to exact its effect, and then you'll draw another one out to replace it, and then you'll go about your turn. Everybody's going to take their turn. So these have a variety of different things. Let me just show you a couple examples here. So this one here, basically, each player has a little sort of dial or sort of directional control that they're going to have on their side of the board. And this is going to cause you to basically, it's sort of like a solar drift or solar wind. It's going to cause you to drift this direction. So you have to sort of compensate for that, or maybe use it to your benefit. This is going to affect everybody. And I'll explain a little bit more how you fly around. It'll make more sense. But to prevent that, you can discard one of those gray energy tokens to prevent it. This one, basically, everybody loses one of the orange tokens if they have one. You can, again, prevent that with a gray energy. It's when you lose 3. There's a variety here. Now, this one is telling you you can place up to 7 if you spend a gray energy token. You can spend up to 7 cubes on your little dial. Normally, you can spend up to 3. This one will give everybody an orange one. So there's beneficial. This will give you 3 yellow ones, some other different ones. This will give everybody an energy shield token, one of the only ways to get it. Let's see. This one, nobody can spend any fuel, but again, you can prevent it by spending an energy token. So there's a variety of effects. Whoever the start player is going to choose one. It's going to affect everybody unless they prevent it, or maybe they have to pay for it with an energy token. And then we're going to divvy out our fuel to our dials. So let me zoom in on that. So normally on your turn, you can place up to 3 cubes on your dial, and that's basically going to show you the direction and somewhat the speed that you're going to move. So you can say, let's say I wanted to put 2 here and then 1 here. So basically what I'm going to do, let's just move over here. If I was here in this space, I would go 2 spaces this way to match that, and then 1 space over to the right. And then these cubes are going to stay round by round until I land on a planet. So maybe next turn I don't have to add any. I could keep kind of going, up 2 and then over 1. Or I could maybe try to compensate for that. I could add all 3 if I look down here. So I could put 3 down here. And then instead of going either of these directions, these will actually cancel each other out. So we can actually just go ahead and discard those and discard that one. So I'd actually go back 1 and over 1. So you're going to add fuel. If they balance out, you can just remove them. Again, if you put a red one here, it counts as 2. So basically what that is +1 to this side, because you've got 2 going this way, 1 going this way. So I can just discard these, leave that like so, then it balances the equation out. So every turn you can put 0 to 3 here, and then your ship is basically going to travel that direction. And again, you're going to leave them, so you could kind of listlessly, kind of keep going a certain direction for a while if you wanted to maintain this sort of directional focus that you have here. So after everybody's placed the orders here, then everybody's going to fly. So everybody's going to try and fly and get to these different planets. If you get to a planet at the same time as somebody else, then it's going to be a little bit tricky, because if you get there at the same time, then who got there first, right? Well, basically the way that's resolved is whoever is to the left, or starting with the start player and working left, whoever is there first will get the tiebreaker based on their position to the start player. Now we find that going to be actually very, very tricky, especially at the very beginning of the game. So if I'm starting at Earth, and it's very easy for me to get to Venus here, but somebody has, the goal to get there first, or even if they have the goal to get there second, but they know that all of that is resolved by their proximity to the start player, we found that it's better to play it out in turn order. Now the game says you should play it simultaneously, which basically works for the last 2/3 of the game. But as players are bunched up and nobody's really figured out, what the goals are of everybody, it's a little bit problematic. So we just went ahead and played it, in turn order to start the game, so that, if I went to Mercury, then you said, okay, screw it, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to try to go somewhere else, or try to, get away from you guys so I can try to come back in later and get second. So we found that a little bit more pleasing to play it that way. Now, if you don't fly, you can choose to stay on a planet here. So when you choose to stay on a planet, you can refuel. So let's say we'll take some of these off of here like so. Let's say I'd used up, I don't know, all of this stuff here, like so, and I just had those 2 cubes left. Now when you refuel, what you're going to do, every time you refuel, this is what you do. You take 1 red cube, add it to your board, and then you fill up the rest of these empty spaces with the yellow cube. So you always add 1 red cube, and then fill up the rest with the yellow cubes, and that's your refueling action. After everybody's resolved all their movement and their refueling, then you're going to rotate the planets. And the way the planets move is you can see these little spaces like so. So Venus will go to the next space. Excuse me, that's Mercury, and then Venus will go to here. And then Halley's Comet, funnily enough, is really fast. So it's going to go from here all the way to here, even though it takes like 70 years or whatever for it to go around. It's actually going to speed around the board. Now, if you are on a planet, let's say I was on Halley's Comet like so, it was back here, and then I landed on it, I got my little points for Halley's Comet. If I stay there, then I'm going basically to ride Halley's Comet, excuse me, and be able to sort of take a trip out to, you know, different parts of the galaxy. Now the other thing to keep in mind is, let's say I was here, I landed here, and then when we go to move, you know, Halley's Comet comes across this way, bam, then I'm immediately going to land on it like so, and then I'll be able to get my points for it. And again, that's resolved going around in turn order based on the proximity to the start player. Now if you hit it, you know, directly, let's say it was here, and then I moved here and got it, and then at the end of the turn, yellow was here, and then it came over and he basically picked it off there. Then in this case the red player is always going to be at it first because they got it in the phase previous to moving the planets. Now as you can see here, there's some different colored hexes here on the board. This basically is the asteroid belt. These are hazardous hexes. Now you can move through these just fine without any trouble, but if you stay here, you basically have to spend one of your energy shield cubes, or you've got to return to the planet that you just visited. And remember, that's marked on the board here. The other thing is this hazardous area around the sun. You can fly through here and then out of it, but you can never stop in there, or else you got to spend an energy cube. If for some reason you fly into the sun, then doesn't matter if you have an energy cube or not. You've hit a hazard and you've got to go back. And then again, there's some hexes here on the outside of the board. If you for some reason fly off into interstellar space, then again you hit a hazard and you've got to go back to the planet. And then again, once one of the players has visited all the planets except for one and Earth, they're going to try to get back to Earth. When they get back to Earth, they're going to take the 2-point token like so to get the bonus 2 points at the end of the game. If you land on Earth at any time previous to that, you don't get the points. It's only for basically, you know, hitting all your little visits and your pit stops around the solar system, and then once you get back, then you get your little bonus 2 points for completing the task. And that's the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. Let's see. The first thing I said about, you know, the simultaneous play. So the rules state that you should distribute your cubes and then, you know, kind of fly like simultaneously. So the problem with that is like I said, you know, if I've got Mercury, I'm not going to try to go there. Then, you know, lo and behold, nobody else went there. So at the beginning of the game, it's problematic. It doesn't take very long to do a turn. The game isn't very long anyway. So if we do it in turn order, the first, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 turns, then, you know, it's not too bad. People are kind of learning, and everybody's kind of bunched up, and, you know, you can hit those early planets relatively quickly with just a small amount of cubes. But after everybody gets spread out, then you can start doing it simultaneously. It's not really, you're not really going to interact with each other. If you are going to have an occasion, then you can, you know, kind of pause the game for that round. Everybody takes their turn in turn order, and then go from there. It's not a huge problem with the game, but I just disagree with the rules on that aspect, because it is important, you know, for scoring those bonus cards. You know, the other thing's funny, you know, Halley's Comet is like, got like jetpack attached to it and it's just flying around. But it kind of serves a game mechanic purpose for, you know, sort of a strategic thing. Okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then okay, then I can hop on Halley's Comet, take a ride out to Neptune, and then, you know, kind of work my way back in or something like that. It is interesting from a thematic perspective about how you sort of plan your route. So you can say, okay, this turn I'm going to put some cubes this way, kind of build some steam, and then, you know, kind of start to shoot out towards, especially as you get towards those outer planets that are a little bit, you know, more difficult to sort of plan the trajectory. That's the part I like about it. And you've got to kind of watch for those, you know, those event cards, because if somebody plays a solar wind on you and adds those 2 yellow cubes going the opposite direction you want, you've got to, you know, kind of plan for that, make sure you have enough fuel to get there, and not just be stuck with fuel and then, you know, just drift into interstellar space or something. It's not too difficult, but I think as far as a family game kind of thing, it's nice because the theme does come across about, you know, traveling, trying to get to the different planets, really trying to plan a couple of turns ahead, and then sort of being wary of these sort of catastrophic, you know, events that space can throw at you. It's very fun, you know, and very light, and it has a nice graphical appeal and everything like that to it. So I think people will probably get a kick out of this game, and I think it would make a nice family game, especially if you're like a Ticket to Ride type of thing. If you got a family that likes that game, it's sort of a different take on that. Sort of not necessarily building a route, but sort of building your planned route for how you're going to hit all these different locations on the board. So that's Kosmonauts. Take a look at it. Thanks.